Hey, welcome back to Algarve Addicts, and it's so nice to have you back. So today we're heading on a tour of 4 towns down the Central Algarve, kind of near Faro, Olhão and Lolé around there. These sort of undiscovered towns. Starting off with Fuseta, Moncarapacho, and then we're going to head up to Estói, and then we're going to take a little glance around Santa Bárbara de Nexe and show you exactly what it's like living in and around all these 4 towns around the Algarve. So, hope you enjoy the video. Holly and my mate Tom are going to take you on this tour today, so please enjoy it.
So we are looking at Santa Bárbara de Nexe, Estói, Moncarapacho and Fuseta. These 4 places are located centrally along the southern coast of the Algarve, roughly midway between the west coast and the Spanish border to the east. Furthest to the west is Santa Bárbara de Nexe, then we have Estói, Moncarapacho and Fuseta. It only takes half an hour from the furthest western point, Santa Bárbara de Nexe, to the furthest eastern point of Fuseta. The central positions of their locations mean they are ideal to transport to neighbouring towns and villages along the southern coast of the Algarve.
So we are just on our way to Estói, the Central Algarve. Just here with Holly, my girlfriend. She works for the APP, the stand-up paddle. How would you describe it, Holly?
The stand-up paddle world tour.
World tour. So she's just going to come down and work a bit in some of the cafes there and see what Estói and the Central Algarve have to offer. See you there. Ahoy from Estói. I nicked that one off Holly, I'll be honest. That was a long drive, an hour and a half, straight along the N125. We avoided all the tolls, pretty direct route until you get to Estói, and then it's a bit of a challenge, but if you've got Google Maps, you'll be fine.
So, Santa Bárbara de Nexe. So, human settlement in this area actually dates back to the Middle Paleolithic era, which is around 30,000 years ago. And the area came to be inhabited by pre-Roman peoples. So across this land, lots of Phoenicians, Romans and Arabs actually established trading routes across here, where many came to occupy at some point. Later, the area had some Phoenician influence and was incorporated by ancient Rome, becoming part of the Visigothic kingdom of Hispania. It was later conquered by the Moors. So the area was eventually incorporated in 1272 to the Kingdom of Portugal during the end of the Portuguese Reconquista against the Moors. So obviously King Alfonso III gained control of this land. The eldest reference of Santa Bárbara de Nexe was actually when it referred to Neige, and this appeared in 1291 in a chart about the boundaries of Faro and Lolé. During the 14th century, the parochial church was constructed on the site of the ancient chapel. Santa Bárbara de Nexe became a parish finally in the 16th century. So Moncarapacho is a former civil parish, and in 2013, the parish merged into the new parish of Moncarapacho e Fuseta. So Moncarapacho and Fuseta are now included in the same parish. Now the history of these towns is probably most obvious in Estói. So just west of Estói, there is a small Roman ruin called the Roman Villa of Milreu, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later. But basically this is still visible from the roadside, and it is still open. So Estói was almost completely damaged in the 1755 earthquake, and it was one of the places that was hardest hit. And the Igreja Matriz de Estói, which I'll come on to later, was almost completely obliterated and had to be entirely rebuilt. That's just a little brief rundown of some of the history of these places in the Central Algarve.
So the church behind me, the Igreja Matriz de Estói, built in the middle of the 16th century, so it's a remarkably old building. In the 1755 earthquake here, it was completely destroyed almost and had to be rebuilt from its foundations, and that's what we can see today. It's a beautiful old church and very typical of some of the churches out here in the Algarve. But you can see the big bell up there, and that rings on the hour, so if you're sat in a cafe and you need to leave on the hour, then that's the church that will let you know. Ahoy from Estói! So the cafe that we were just sat at is right there, and we both ordered an espresso, and she came with the bill and it was only €2, and we thought we'd rob the place, but no, apparently that was the price, €1 each for an espresso. So if you want some cheap coffee, this is the place to be.
what's shopping like in Santa Bárbara de Nexe? Well, all the shopping located in Santa Bárbara de Nexe is located along one road pretty much. For supermarkets, we have the Jeffers Santa Bárbara de Nexe, the most northern supermarket in Santa Bárbara de Nexe. We also have the Supermercado Orocio, which is a slightly larger supermarket located right in the centre of town. The Briconage is a smaller store, and that's located just further south on this road. That's just located above the Florista Vasconcelos, which is a home goods store. So anything DIY, similar to a B&Q in Britain. You've got this smaller shop here, the Florista Vasconcelos. So in Estói, you've got a little bit more option than in Santa Bárbara de Nexe. To begin with, we have the Mercado de Estói, and this is for any of your local groceries, and that's a market each second Sunday. So if you go down there, you can find some local and fresh food. You also have the Urvanaria Estói, and that's a health food store. So if you're into your fitness and your health, then that could be a really good place for you. You also have the Codis MG Ventura Bernardo, and that's located slap bang in the middle of Estói. For gift shops, you've got Canastra Estói and Sweet Estói, just located here. So anything that you want to get, any souvenirs, then these are the two places that you'd want to be visiting. In Moncarapacho, to begin, we've got the Ali Super, which is the supermarket here, so that's going to have all your essential goods. There's also a couple of options for herb shops in Moncarapacho. So we have the Almofariz da Vila, and that's a herb shop located just on the outskirts of the centre of town. And a bit closer towards the middle, we have the Urvanaria Ben Miquel. So that's also a herb shop located slap bang in the middle of Moncarapacho and the main square. To get some more local and fresh fruit and vegetables, you've got the Verissimo Fernando Reis, and that's going to have all your local and freshly sourced food. Just at the top up here, you can see the Monterosa olive oil farm. Now, there is a spot just in the middle of Moncarapacho next to one of the old churches there, and you'll see it when you walk in the square, advertising some Monterosa olive oil. Now, this is highly recommended when you go to Moncarapacho because it is famous for its olive oil. Now, for quite a small town, Fuseta is surprisingly very good for shopping. So once you've spent a day kite surfing and windsurfing along its seas, then you can come into the town and look at some of the variety of options for shopping. So you've got the ABC over here to the east of the square, and this is a grocery store. So any groceries that you need, you can head up there. You've also got the Supermercado Fuseta just further to the west over here, and the Mini Mercado in the middle. So you've got lots of options for food stores and grocery stores in Fuseta. So Fuseta is also very good for some retail therapy. So over here to the south, you've got the Carunella, which is a costume jewellery shop. And then further up the road here, you have the Pay de Salsa, which is a shoe store in the centre of town. So if you're a bit of a sneaker fanatic, then I'd recommend going there. If you want to buy yourself some new clothes, look at the Loja de Celia here, just in the middle of the town. And that's a clothing department, so you can spend the day shopping the latest clothes there. Up towards the top of Fuseta, you've got Gifts Portugal. Now, this is a shop with selected goodies and everything that you need for souvenirs or just something that you think you might fancy for yourself. So you won't be disappointed with any of the options for supermarkets throughout these towns. However, Fuseta is probably the best place if you want to do some retail shopping.
So this is the Palacio de Estói, so it's the Palace of Estói, and until a few years ago this was a semi-ruin, but it's since been turned into a luxurious hotel. This distinctive pink colour, that's how you notice it, and you can see this straight away from the centre. You can see this pink colour and the walls that run all along the town. It's a beautiful old palace, and it's surrounded by some beautiful ornamental gardens, so we'll try and get some footage of that for you. But it's very sort of rustic and southern Portuguese, and it gives that place that sort of royal feel. I'm a bit out of breath from walking up these steps. Very steep little street we're on here. And what we've noticed is there's quite a few abandoned, old, really kind of run-down buildings. And usually in England, I'd say they don't look very good, but here it just matches the feel and the atmosphere of the place. So Estói, unlike a lot of places along the Algarve, is very local, and it's you know, not very touristy. It really gives it kind of that raw feel. So we've if we look again, these rustic pink walls all over the city you can see, and they're really inspired. Something that was kept on with the building of the palace. Yeah, I just think it makes it look amazing. It's a beautiful place, I hope you agree. Now that's a bloody nice tree. Don't know who that is, but he looks cool. That's something I've never seen before anywhere else really. Poo bags available to the public, but they've got it here in Estói. Now, we've walked all the way to the Roman ruins, and it was a pretty grisly walk right next to the road, and we found out that it's closed for whatever reason. I don't know if we've not come at the right time or because of COVID, I don't know, but we're at the Roman ruins, and this was first a settlement in 1 AD, and then in the 2nd and 3rd AD it was turned into a luxury villa, and then it was later restored in the 13th century. Now, this is noted as the best preserved Roman ruin in southern Portugal. We've seen a guy working on it today, so they are looking after the ruin, and it throws you back in time a little bit, so hope you like it.
So as you can see here, there are plenty of medical centres along these 4 towns in the centre of the Algarve. So over in Santa Bárbara de Nexe, we have the Riverside International Medical and Aero Medical Centre. So this covers absolutely everything you'd want a medical centre to cover. From its GP to its chiropractor, it's got you covered for everything. We then go over to Estói and we have a look at the Extensão de Saúde, which is the hospital located to the northeast of Estói. Moving on to Moncarapacho, there are 2 places of interest here. The Centro de Saúde, which again pretty much every town has in the Algarve. Further up to the north of Moncarapacho, we have Emergencies, which is a private emergency and security service that you can become a member of. I wouldn't worry too much about that one though, and I'd focus on the Centro de Saúde, which is the hospital there over in Moncarapacho. Now, Fuseta is surrounded by places that have lots of hospitals, and you're never too far from one, but it doesn't actually have one itself in the centre, so it does have the Duarte Areis, which is more of a physiotherapy and holistic therapy centre. So don't worry if you are there are plenty of hospitals surrounding it in the neighbouring towns, but Duarte Areis is the only one that's actually in the centre of Fuseta. So that's an overview of some of the medical centres that there are in these 4 towns along the centre of the Algarve.
Yo-yo from Moncarapacho. So we've driven to Moncarapacho, and again, it's a very nice and local place, and I found that out the hard way because my Google Maps decided to take me down the wrong way on a one-way street, and we got a few funny looks from the locals, so hopefully we don't get spat on when we walk into the main town. But let's see what Moncarapacho has in store for us today. We just stood in front of the parish church of Our Lady of Grace. Now, the cool thing about this church is that its origins are actually unknown, but it definitely has medieval origins, which is pretty cool. So it's a very old parish church, and it got elevated to the parish council in the 16th century, in where it was made into this absolute monument. just behind me is the old square. Now, me and Holly just had an espresso here, and it's even cheaper than our coffees in Estói, only 75 cents, so an absolute bargain. Again, it's another place to come and walk around, sit down and have a coffee and just take your time. So just behind me is the Church of Mercy, right next door to the other two churches. Something I've found, there's 3 churches here and they're all situated just outside the square. So I don't know if back in the day there's a bit of which church do you go to? One of them, sort of a bit of conflict. But this one's a 17th century church again, and fits in with the theme of the others with its whitewashed walls and big kind of brown doors.
So if we look at an overview of the map here, there are plenty of local schools along these 4 towns. There are all sorts from middle schools and high schools, and there's also a creche over here in Santa Bárbara de Nexe. So if you've got young children, then Santa Bárbara de Nexe should be perfect for you. So international schools, there aren't actually any in these 4 towns. So the nearest 2 are the Estói International School, which is a preschool and prep school, which is located just south of Lulé and only a 17-minute drive from Santa Bárbara de Nexe. We also have the Nobel International School, which, as I said in one of my previous videos, is the most prestigious international school, and this is for ages 3 to 18, and it also accommodates a whole host of different languages and different natives. The Nobel International School is located in Almansil. So if you were to live in any of these places, the furthest it would be a half-an-hour drive from Fuseta to the Estói International School or to the Nobel International School. If you live further to the west in Santa Bárbara de Nexe, then you'd only be around 12 minutes from these 2 schools.
Fuseta, let's go get her.
Show me your soul, baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul, honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul, and honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine.
So it looks like probably in the peak season here, there's lots of fishing trips and boat trips that go out from here. So if that's your sort of thing, Fuseta's your kind of place. You can windsurf, you can fish, you can kite surf. It's a bit of a maritime haven here in Fuseta.
Pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight. Ooh, show me your soul, baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul, can't you see it's way past time? How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul, and honey, I'll show you mine.
Property in these 4 towns is significantly cheaper than many other towns in the Algarve due to them being more local and much less touristy. For T2 apartments, properties range from around 180 to 300,000, whilst T3 and T4 properties increase to between 4 and 600,000. There are some larger properties that border the towns that vary from 2 to 4 million euros. If you would like to know more about real estate in Portugal, please visit www.algarveaddicts.com/home. You can work with an experienced property broker that's vetted by Nick and will send you a series of weekly informative emails to help you in your move to Portugal.
This banner down. If you don't take notice and come around.
So we're here at the main church of Santa Barbara. Now this church is amazing. Santa Barbara is kind of in a bowl and it's surrounded by these big sweeping hills. And Santa Barbara is right in the middle of this bowl. And the church, you can see it from wherever, and if you're along any of the hills, the church pokes above the rest of the town.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learnt a little bit more about some of those smaller towns in the Central Algarve. If you want to find out more about how to relocate to the Algarve, go to algarveaddicts.com and check out my relocation checklist. That'll help you get all the stuff going, give you an idea of who to speak to, and if you're looking for a home, what real estate agents to chat to. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.